police officers shoot and kill a suspect while he was running away, but it's not the case you're thinking of. This happened 2 days after the case in Colorado Springs in a different part of the state. A new world of advertising as CBD gains in popularity. The feds want to rein back how companies can talk about their products. When the grocery store apologizes for the signature gatherers in front of the store, a next viewer wonders why they can't just kick them out. And our good news in the form of a beer fest highlighting a part of the industry that just keeps growing. Next. A suspect with a gun running from police is shot in the back. It's a scenario that should sound familiar because of the Devon Bailey shooting last month in Colorado Springs. But 2 days after that, in the town of Rifle in northwest Colorado, a suspect with a gun started to run from police and was shot in the back. The local newspaper reported it, and tonight our Marshall Zellinger has the cell phone video that documented what happened.
The man in this video is 57-year-old Alan George. This is August 5th. His court record shows that on this day, a warrant was issued for his arrest in a suspected child pornography case. This video shows him holding a gun to himself on a bridge, while police, also pointing a gun at him, issue commands.
There was a woman driving across the bridge, and she stopped. And she saw what was going on. She took out her cell phone and started recording it.
David Lane is the attorney for George's family because of what happens at the end of this video. George appears to put the gun in a front pocket, then gestures as though he's going to jump. Not quite 2.5 minutes later, he comes back over the railing, jogs away from officers, and then the cell phone dips down. George was shot and killed.
The phone kind of goes down and you can't see the moment right before that. Is that problematic?
Not at all. You don't have to show people every brick in the wall, Marshall, to prove that it's a brick wall.
The autopsy report shows he was shot in the back twice. Just like the Devon Bailey shooting in Colorado Springs 2 days earlier, the suspect with a gun running away was shot in the back.
Neither Devon Bailey nor Alan George had pulled a gun and put any law enforcement officer in reasonable fear of imminent serious bodily injury or death.
And that's one of the three aspects investigators need to consider in determining if the shooting was justified or a crime. 1, did the suspect commit a serious crime? 2, are they trying to escape arrest? 3, are they an immediate threat to officers or the public? For that last part, we turn to California Sheriff's Deputy Ed Obayashi, who trains law enforcement on use of force.
The officers are going to have to articulate that based on the circumstances, that this individual, even though he wasn't apparently threatening anyone at the time, that by escaping, he would constitute an immediate threat to the safety of the public.
There were 2 officers involved in the rifle shooting. The officer who fired those shots is still on administrative leave. The other officer on scene is on reduced duty. And unlike Colorado Springs, there's no body-worn cameras from Rifle Police. But there was that random woman who got out of her car and started shooting cell phone video.
And I can see one other distinct difference here, too. In this case, unlike the Devon Bailey case, police saw that he had a gun before this shooting happened. With Bailey, Bailey never produced the gun before that incident happened.
And Deputy Obayashi made 2 distinct points. One is, in the Bailey case, you had the report of a serious armed robbery, and so you thought there could be that threat. In this case, is the warrant and someone threatening themselves enough of a threat to the officer or the public to require deadly force? Really distinct differences.
It'll be interesting to see how both are sorted out. Marshall, thank you. Denver city councilors were split when they voted to appoint a lobbyist as their representative for the Citizen Oversight Board that would oversee police conduct. New councilors against the old. But it's a moot point now because Roger Sherman is resigning. Sherman cited consultant work with an out-of-state client as the reason he needs to step aside. He was appointed as the representative of the committee back in July. The 3 new council members who voted against it, saying he was too closely tied to Denver politics. Sherman ran a campaign against the initiative to repeal the urban camping ban and also contributed to some councilors' campaigns. Now, Sherman's resignation comes a day after he posted on Facebook defending the First Amendment rights of CSU students who were photographed in blackface. Sherman acknowledged the post crossed the line today, and he apologized for it. For as easy as it is to find CBD products these days, do not believe everything you read because some of these companies are lying. Our Anusha Roy explains.
The issue can get so complicated. Let's start with the phrase everyone can understand. If it's too good to be true, it probably is, which is why the Fed started sending out warning letters to some CBD companies.
We're sort of going for, I guess, what you call the low-hanging fruit here, where it's these claims are really so outrageous and so beyond, where the science is.
Claims like CBD can help treat cancer, Alzheimer's, and a whole host of other issues research doesn't back up.
Put consumers on notice to be, to have a healthy dose of skepticism, but also, put the industry on notice too.
It can get dangerous if CBD reacts with other medications and brings up an important question. What can CBD companies advertise?
There's nothing that we can actually prescribe this for. It's not indicated for anything specific. We have a list of testimonials on our website that outline what people have gotten benefits for it.
No promise is the right kind of promise, according to Chris Miller, who co-founded Blue Sky CBD, a company not in trouble with the feds.
Yeah, the FDA has only indicated it for one medication for seizures, so anything outside of that is just not correct. It's not proven. There is some research that's out there and is published, but it's very little.
MSU Denver marketing professor Darren Duber-Smith agrees for one more reason.
So it's really sketchy.
CBD still sits in a gray area.
States are ahead of the game.
CBD by itself is legal under federal law, but not in foods or dietary supplements. However, in Colorado, all the above are allowed.
It's tough to read the label. At this point, trust your retailer.
For Next, I'm Anusha Roy.
The Federal Trade Commission did not name the 3 companies that received the latest round of warning letters this summer. It hopes that if they aren't shamed right off the bat, they will more likely make some changes. 3 other companies that were warned back in March are not in Colorado. Hemp has been causing Coloradans a lot of legal troubles. An Aurora-based company lost nearly 7 pounds of what it says is hemp after it was seized in Idaho. Now it's offering to drop the lawsuit it filed against the state if the product is returned. It was one of the hemp cases that we've been following here on Next. Idaho State Police seized the product back in January. Police say it's marijuana and arrested the truck driver transporting it on charges of marijuana trafficking. Big Sky Scientific sued, but in a statement this week it says it would settle the case in all future cases if Idaho just gave back its industrial hemp. The company is waiting on the state to respond. Our next question comes from a viewer named Amy. She's curious about a sign posted outside of a King Soopers in Greeley. It explains to customers that they do not give permission for petitioners to gather signatures outside their store. But Amy wants to know why the grocery chain only has the power to put a sign up. So, Amy, that's King Soopers' private property. They can ask a signature gatherer to leave. If the person refuses, the supermarket could also call the police. But King Soopers tells us sometimes the petition people refuse to leave and police do not respond to their request for help. So the sign essentially is to tell customers that they don't want the signature gatherers there but can't always do something about it. Keep your questions coming. We will keep finding answers to things you wonder about, big and small. Email us next@9news.com or get our attention with the hashtag HeyNext. 6 students tragically killed when cars exploded in Boulder. The history is debated, but a student and artist says it can't be erased, so she did something to memorialize it. The Avs hit the ice for training camp today. Let's meet 2 of their biggest fans.
And I'm sprawled out on the floor in Office Depot. And all these people are walking by like, ma'am, where's the printer paper?
Nope, she does not work at an office supply store. She is just a huge fan of her favorite hockey team and has a unique way to support them. Next. That's a pretty cool guitar. It's a sign that a trail that goes nowhere could still give you some pretty great views. Jennifer spotted this sign while climbing Mount Albert with her father-in-law last weekend. One of the trailers had a warning sign that says, "Trail not open yet. It goes nowhere." Jennifer says they still checked it out, and in fact, it dropped off into nowhere. But the other trail took them somewhere to the top of Mount Elbert. You want to share a sign with us? Use the hashtag HeyNext. You can also email next@9news.com.
What a perfect weekend to head up to the high country. We have gorgeous weather and probably some good 14er hiking conditions too for you. Bright and blue looking atop the Loveland ski area off to the east. Everything's so green. I just love it. And then downtown Denver, any complaints around here? Bright and blue, just gorgeous. That cold front that helped cool us off yesterday and today now tracking off to the northeast. We still have been monitoring a couple of storms firing up across the south central part of our state. Lots of lightning, some brief heavy downpours, but everyone else enjoying a gorgeous Friday evening. Temperatures tonight falling to the low 50s here in Denver, 50s along the plains, 30s, 40s going way up high, and we are looking at that full harvest moon this evening. High pressure is around. That's going to keep us pretty dry here, and also temperatures warming up as we head toward the weekend too. 87 on tap tomorrow across parts of Colorado, even warmer like Lamar and Springfield in the 90s, upper 60s into the 70s further out to the west in the high country like through Steamboat. 90 degrees, the Broncos game day. It's going to be a hot one. Temperatures slowly cool off, Steve, as we head toward next week, but this is the September that we all know and love. No storms really in the next 7 days.
Oh, that sounds nice. Thank you, Danielle.
You bet.
So have you heard? We just launched a new podcast. It's called From the Cheap Seats, an Avalanche fan podcast that producer Jeff Sawtell and I host together. We have season tickets to the Avs, literally in the cheapest seats available, hence the name. So each week we talk about Avs news, and then we chat with a guest ranging from fans to fan favorites. This week we chatted with Taylor and Adrian, the two diehard fans behind the big heads. You see them during warm-ups anytime the Avs are at home. They even have their own Instagram account. It's really cool. So we featured them earlier this year on 9 News, and of course we wanted to know how those signs are made.
I'd have to cut them out. So for Nate, for example, I cut out the full image and then put it onto poster board because it's just flimsy paper, cut it out again, and then they would run it through a laminator and cut it out again. And I'm like sprawled out on the floor in Office Depot. And all these people are walking by like, ma'am, where's the printer paper? And I'm like, I don't actually work
here. They think that like, you work for Kinko's because you're sprawled out on the floor in the middle of Kinko's.
Yeah, and so it became this routine of we did them and then we, made playoffs and we're like, all right, we're going to do a few more. And I roll back in and I forgot what it was like Ryan was his name or something. He's like, oh, you're back.
It was nice because he knew who she was, so it was easier after that.
And sort of. And then he actually left to go to like the Colorado Springs store.
Oh, God.
And so they're like, yeah, we think you scared him off. So then I think I spent like 3 hours one day there trying to get new ones.
Oh, here I thought you were going to say it. So then I drive down to Colorado Springs.
I debated. It would have been quicker.
It would have been faster.
So From the Cheap Seats is available on iTunes, Spotify, anywhere you get your podcasts. There's also a video version on YouTube. A new episode drops each week. And we want to know, do you have a great Avs fan story? By the way, there's Mark. He played for us in one episode. You can email the show. It's cheapseats@9news.com.
CU Boulder students say the history may be murky, but it shouldn't be forgotten, so they are using art to memorialize 6 Chicano activists killed in car explosions back in the 70s. One person's good news is spreading to others.
It's like seeing a dream come true, so it's very surreal.
They're adding a different flavor to a Colorado staple.
The diversity that we bring is very unique.
That's next.
Los Seis de Boulder, or the Boulder Six, were part of the Chicano movement on the CU campus 45 years ago, killed in 2 separate car bombings in 1974. It's part of the campus history that wasn't commonly talked about until recently. Our Byron Reed has the story of a group of CU students who thought of a way to make sure the 6 were not forgotten.
Part of the civil rights history on the CU Boulder campus
is kind of remembering the Los Seis de Boulder.
Came down to one defining moment that was nearly forgotten.
which were 6 students here at CU who were tragically killed in 2 car bombings back in the early 70s.
Alana Adams is part of a group called United Mexican American Students, or UMAS, an organization started at CU Boulder in 1968 to encourage justice and equality for Chicano and Latinx students.
We really wanted to commemorate that history here on campus because it's not very widely spoken about.
Behind us is Temporary Building 1.
In 1974, UMAS was protesting the university's financial aid policies, culminating into a sit-in in Temporary Building 1 for 18 days.
And this was in response to some contention and just overall issues with the university that the club had been experiencing.
During the protest,
3 students were sitting in their car at Chautauqua Park overlooking the city, and it exploded. Not even a few days later, another car bomb went off and it killed 3 more students and injured another one.
6 students in total lost their lives.
So both of these bombings were in May 1974.
Jasmine Bates is a CU student and an artist who was moved by the story and wanted to help create the memorial called Los Seis de Boulder.
The killings were never properly investigated. It's super murky, and so I understand how that played a role in this not being memorialized, but for it to be completely erased is reprehensible.
Both Alana and Jasmine hope the memorial is a glimpse into the university's past.
Yuna Jacola, Neva Romero, Florencio Granado, Heriberto Terán, Reyes Martinez, and Francisco Doherty.
Defined by the lives of 6 who made a difference.
And so what we really wanted to do with the sculpture was to make sure that that history is remembered and it's in a spot where people see it every day.
For Next, I'm Byron Reed.
Adam says the sculpture will stay up for 6 months in front of Temporary Building 1, but they would really like it to become permanent. They're working with the administration right now. If not, they have other campus locations in mind. A unique twist to a beer fest in Colorado is creating some unique good news on a Friday night, and it will be shared by a community through the weekend. That's next. This Friday night, we're going to serve a glass of your good news from a local brewery that's adding a different taste to Colorado beer fests.
Get closer into the beer, Frankie. Pretend you like each other.
My name is Tamil Maldonado, and I have great news. We are about to open Raíces Brewing Company, and we are hosting the first Latino craft beer festival in the nation, Suave Fest. So this parking lot is gonna be looking really different because we're gonna have tents all over the place with the 10 breweries showcasing all the flavor and quality beer. Suave Fest is a platform to highlight Latino-owned breweries. We wanted to diversify and make a consciousness about diversity in the craft beer industry.
Businesswomen are never serious. They're always happy.
Okay, párate aquí, Dani, con él. But the diversity that we bring is very unique. You have from different backgrounds, so you will have different selections of styles and different flavors on the beers. And we are very happy to actually present that to our community at Suave Fest. It's like seeing a dream come true, you know? So it's very surreal. We are very ready for this. Very, very ready for this.
Suave Fest is tomorrow from noon to 6 at Raíces Brewing. Kristen wrote into us to say her good news. My son just called me to tell me I'm going to be a grandma. My favorite is from Jerry. He says it means he gets to take his daughter Ashlyn shopping for her first homecoming dress. We'll see you next time.